Hi, I'm Bob Cornick, and welcome to this episode of Gutsy Christianity. I'm excited about this show. I have two great friends. We have an exciting topic which is near and dear to me, and that's adventure travel. And you're going to be a part of it. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Gutsy Christianity, and I have some very special friends with me for this one episode. And this is Rhonda Sand with Living Passages, and my trusty co-host Harold Velasquez. But Rhonda, you just flew in from Coeur d'Alene.
Yes.
And you have an organization called Living Passages. And Rhonda, you and I and my wife and all my ministry affiliates have traveled with you. You do a phenomenal job about doing travel, but we've been all over the world, Africa, the Mediterranean, whatnot. We do cruises, we do all these great adventures. But the one trip that we take every year that seems to be your favorite and my favorite is we go to Ethiopia. And a lot of people say, well, Ethiopia is kind of a dusty little dirty place. I think Ethiopia is the best kept secret in travel in the world today. It's, I hate to use the term, almost magical. But when we go to Ethiopia, and Harold, you were there, I think it just changed your life. I took you with me, and we went last year and on a trip over there. Rhonda, and we go over there because I wrote a couple of books and I did a couple of videos on the Ark of the Covenant, literally being in Ethiopia. Now, we're not here to discuss whether the Ark's there or not, but this culture is steeped in belief system that they have the Ark of the Covenant. And the tours that we go over on, we go, of course, see the Garden of the Ark where they say they have the Ark, and we go to the island where they say they have the Ark, and we go to Lalibela where they carve these 11 stone churches. But Rhonda, when I was over there with you that very first trip, we walked down the streets of Aksum, this old ancient city where they claim they have the Ark of the Covenant. They have these big massive steles all over, and it's just, they bring out the Ark and they have this great pageantry and music and the festival, they're all dressed up. But I looked over at you and I saw your eyes gazing upon these poor little peasants, and your heart was touched. In fact, you adopted two of these little Ethiopian children, and which really surprised us all. But you did adopt these wonderful children, and it changed your life. It changed their life. So can you talk about from a travel agent standpoint, what it was like for you to go over there and have your heart touched like never before in this foreign country? What was it like for you to go through Aksum, Ethiopia, and then what do you think it would be doing to someone that's going with us on this next trip in June? We're going to ask people to go with us on this next trip in June. So tell us about what your heart did over there from a travel agent standpoint when you first went over there.
Well, the first word that comes to my mind is it's authentic. And the people are very authentic. And it's different from any other type of trip that I've ever done, even when we've gone on safari, Bob, in Kenya and other places in Africa. When you go to Ethiopia, it is a magical place because these are our Christian brothers and sisters, and they love the Lord with all of their heart. These are people with servants' hearts, and I think that the small groups that we take, they really feel that. And it's amazing because even if they've been on trips all over the world, when they come to Ethiopia, it's an easy place to get engaged. And it's an easy place to get engaged with our Christian brothers and sisters. And what's really amazing about traveling with you, Bob, is you make it easy for them to do that. And I just think back to some of the wonderful things that have happened and where hearts have just been changed, where lives have been completely changed by going to this amazing African country. I mean, it's the festivals that they have, the archaeological wonders that are there,
amazing stuff.
The deep Hebraic roots that we see from the musical instruments to their language, to the prayers, to the music. I mean, everything is it will change. Really, you'll become spoiled for any other travel destinations, in my opinion. That's why I can go again and again and again.
That's what I've heard is we've traveled to Africa, and we've traveled all over the world, Rhonda, and you're right. I had several of the people last trip say, look, I've been to the Great Wall of China, Machu Picchu, I've been to every festival in Rio that you can think of, but coming to Ethiopia has changed their lives. And it's a bad word to use, this magical, but it's a great word, because I've seen people, everybody on the trips that go there, sometimes they go 3-4 times in a row, because they say, we go over there and we see things that we've never seen before, but their hearts are changed. Something is about this country that people say, I have to go back in time and time again. Harold, I went on an island with you over there, and I saw you cry. I hope I don't, shatter the myth that you're this real rough and tumble guy. Well, you're this macho. You are that tough guy. But doesn't it just break you find a heart in Ethiopia that you've never known that you've owned. It happened to me. I went over there and my heart was just pierced. I saw your heart pierced. Can you tell us about your experience?
Well, I'd never been to Africa, let alone Ethiopia. And again, landing there on that land and immediately having the sense that these are a different kind of people. These people, I love the word that you said authentic. Rhonda, it's so true that there's an authenticity about them. There's a sincerity about them. There's a joy about them and a peace about them that's unlike anything I'd ever seen in my life, first of all. Second of all, just the land itself. There's no doubt in my mind that these people believe with all their hearts that the Ark of the Covenant is there, and that there is a spiritual dynamic that surrounds the Ark of the Covenant in the way that they celebrate it, the way that they do their processionals, and so much of their culture, even again, the instruments point towards it. And all of that brings a sense of God's presence in such a way that by the time that we got to Tana Island, I just came to a point where I just sensed God's presence in such a real and powerful way that I couldn't help but break down and weep. I really felt like God's presence was there and evident with the people. It opens up your heart as it opened up mine in a way that had never been opened up before. So I guess the bottom line for me is that in going to a place like Ethiopia, it is absolutely life transforming. There are things that you'll see and hear and experience that you will not see or hear or experience anywhere else in the world. And ultimately, in my experience, it pointed me into a deeper relationship with my Lord and my God.
Because you see these people over there, Rhonda, that are living out their faith. I mean, these women pray at the festivals 10, 11, sometimes 24 hours. We've seen them sitting. They have these
all
candles.
All night with candles.
All night with candles. And when we go on these expeditions, and we call it an expedition, but we're going to invite people on this expedition. We're going to be showing the website and everything else through this program. But I know that people's hearts are changed with this Ethiopian expedition that we go on, and we're going to be doing it again this June, and it's going to be just awesome. And so how many lives have changed through all the people that we've taken over? And we've taken a lot of people over to Ethiopia. I don't think I can't remember one person that has gone that hasn't come to me afterwards and given me a hug or a comment about how wonderful you provided with your services at Living Passages. But they say that this is the trip of a lifetime. Right. And I'm doing this show because I want to give people this opportunity that want to have a trip that's going to transform their lives. It actually brings husbands and wives together. And when my wife and I go over there, we just, and we start sponsoring kids and taking medicine.
Right.
And we actually sponsored 6 kids we've adopted informally. They're still living there, but we take care of them, and we've seen them now. One of the little girls that we just adopted is becoming a civil engineer and graduating this year.
Oh my gosh.
And coming out of college, and these are peasants.
Yeah.
And so could you tell about the lives that are transformed?
Wow. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, we have many children that have been adopted out of communities that had never had adoptions take place. We have 2 completely new schools that were opened up to educate children and give them a hope and a future where they had none. I mean, this is where they just couldn't afford to even have school buildings, so that our participants actually helped build schools. When they went over, they were just average Christians like you and I.
Sure.
And they went over and they said, wow, if God can use a person like me to do something like this. And so we have these schools being built. I mean, we've brought water into communities. We have a wonderful, lovely woman who built her own little home and takes care of orphan children.
Miss
Created
Lillian.
her own ministry, Miss Lillian. We have people that have built water cisterns, people whose faith have been totally renewed just by going there. And and then, of course, there's the family that have created an entire game on Facebook surrounding Africa from their own experience in
And that
Axum,
money
and
is
they
going to-
adopted their own child.
They adopted their own child, and they're actually
And
taking
they're
the money to help
and
out.
they're the person who built their home went and adopted a child from Africa. And I just could go on, Bob. It's just been amazing, really.
Well, we're going to be coming back with Rhonda Sand and talking about, she's with Living Passages. We're going to invite you to come along on an expedition. You want to live adventure in your life? Well, we're going to give you that opportunity to leave that comfort zone that you have and come out and do an expedition with Rhonda and myself and Base Institute and Living Passages. We're going to be coming back and talking about that. And so you stay with us. We've got to go to a short break. We'll be right back.
This is our new friend, Freywit, that we met today, and she is 7 years old, but she has only been HIV positive for 6 years. So it was a miracle that she was not born with HIV, but unfortunately, her mother passed it to her through breastfeeding. So if we could educate and provide formula for these mothers, we might be able to continue to stop the cycle of AIDS and help more children that are born without AIDS to continue to live without AIDS.
And we'd like to invite you, all that are in the viewing audience, to have a gutsy kind of Christianity. This is our Gutsy Christian project. We're bringing shoes, medicine, the formulas, and things like this. Meredith has volunteered 3 years over here. She works tirelessly, and just a few minutes ago I saw her sitting on this bench, and she was weeping because she couldn't do more. So if you came here, you'd weep too. But we'd love to have your help and support.
Thank you for watching today's program of Gutsy Christianity. Gutsy Christianity is truly a unique program that's willing to tackle issues that others shy away from. It's everything from overcoming porn and drug abuse in the Christian home to sex trafficking and courage in the face of tragedy. By the letters and emails we receive, we know that lives are being changed. And another way that this program is changing lives is through our support of missions. In fact, I've been with Bob to Ethiopia, Africa, where I was able to witness firsthand a team of doctors that we brought with us doing their work in a medical mission. Now, here's what we need you to know. In order to ensure that these powerful programs continue to be produced, we need your support. Would you prayerfully consider a gift to help underwrite this program? There's no gift that's too small, and anything that you give is tax deductible. To give, all you need to do is simply go to baseinstitute.org. Again, it's baseinstitute.org, and you can give there. Thanks again for keeping Gutsy Christianity on the air.
Welcome back to Gutsy Christianity with Rhonda Sand and Harold Velasquez. And Rhonda, of course, we've been on many trips, and we're just talking to the break here about coming to Ethiopia. A lot of people have a fear of going, and you and I laugh about it because the most dangerous part of the trip for them is going to the airport.
That's right.
But being in Ethiopia, isn't it, Harold? It's just the
Absolutely.
safest place I feel that you can go, and that's why we love to go there, because there's just a peace. And after about 2 days, people are saying, "I've never felt so at peace and so safe in my life." But what I find in travel, Rhonda, and what you do for a lot of people, because you put together such a fabulous, just wherever we go, it's just first class, and everything's done well by your organization. But travel is an investment in yourself, and people don't look at it that way. We invest in our kids, we invest in our house, we invest in our cars, but travel creates a memory that you'll take with you your whole life. And then the people email us when they come back and they say, "You know what? This is the best money I ever spent. I have an adventure and a memory for a lifetime, but it has changed my life. And Ethiopia that we're talking about seems to be one of those incredible places that changes hearts like I've never seen before. People, we have one lady that's gone back 3 years in a row, and people are 80 that go with us, and they have a great time. We make it so that who went with us with this three? Who was that lady that went with us? And we were going through the desert, and she was having such a, who was that?
Oh, Thelma.
Thelma, 80 years old, and she kept coming back year after year saying, this is so much fun. I've never had this joy in my life. Finally, I'm having an adventure in my life. And it's taken all these years before I realized I can have that in Ethiopia. So can you talk about other people that have had their lives just transformed with going to Ethiopia?
Well, I mean, of course, I have so many favorites, but I mean, having just talked to Barry the other day, there's a gentleman by the name of Barry, and what a gentleman. I mean, he is, I would say he's probably late 60s, retired now, I believe, but Barry's heart was just broken. He'd never been on a missions trip. He'd been on plenty of great trips, but he went on this trip and just fell in love with the people, fell in love with the community. They fell in love with him. I mean, do you remember seeing Barry walk down the street holding hands with all of these kids walking up and down the streets? It just...
A banker from what, in Indiana?
Yeah,
and so Barry goes over there, and he's a banker. He's real quiet, and then after a couple of days, he's just swarmed by these little kids that are just loving on him. The tears are coming down. I say, Barry, you know, for $90, we can put this family who are living literally in the open into a home for a year. Yeah, that's the rent for a year. He said, really? So he comes back the next year, and this family's in this little house.
But then he brought his children too on the next.
They brought his next children, and eventually, we don't want to say his name. He'd probably be embarrassed to say this, but eventually he raised the money through his friends and his banker friends, and through him we built a 800-seat schoolhouse with chalkboards and running water and everything. And now people have Christian education over there from that one guy going. And you and I could probably go back and say that there's not been one person that has gone with us to Ethiopia that hasn't had not only their lives changed, but have helped the people over there. Because for a couple $100, you can change a family's, you know, existence and save lives. I don't know how many tons of medicine we've taken. We asked everybody to bring suitcase with medicine. How many times have we gone to that clinic and just dumped the medicine on the floor and seen the women show up? And we had a woman last year that showed up, and she had tuberculosis, and we for $90 we took her, and she's alive today. She had 2 children. She's alive today.
Turned her life around.
Okay, just for $90. So that's what happened. When people go, we're going to give them a chance to go have adventure travel. See all this Indiana Jones stuff. Go on the island like you're talking about. See the monks that are chanting and doing all the singing and the incense smoke. And that in and of itself is a great thing. But then we do the ministry work there. So that's why we want. And could you tell us about the trip that's coming up? Because time's going to get away. Tell us about what we're going to do on this trip coming up in June.
Okay, well, it's June 20 through 27. And we fly into Addis, which is the capital, of course, and then we catch a plane to Axum. And Axum, as you know, is
where they say the Ark is.
That's right. Okay, it's where the Ark of the Covenant was kept for hundreds. How many years, Bob? Hundreds of years.
It's been there since 400 BC. But okay, stop in Axum. We give them a special trip because, and I don't want to bang my own pots here. I'm a little well known.
Yeah, well,
and I'm like
Mr. Bob.
I'm
Mr.
like
Bob
Mr. Bob.
Himself, right?
Everybody knows you there.
I'm like Bon Jovi over in Axum. So we get to see the Guardian that people don't get to see, and we get to see the Narud, and we have front row seat in all the festivals.
Yes.
It's very special to go.
It is so special. I just can't even begin to tell people. I mean, going out with candles and climbing under these monoliths and looking at the tombs that were recently opened. We go to the grove where the frankincense groves are outside of the Magi's tomb.
And that's a new discovery. The audience doesn't realize is we found the tomb of the Magi in Ethiopia. We have inscriptions. There's going to be a book about it, a movie, even a movie's being done about it right now. So we have special access to go down the tomb of the Magi.
That's right. And the Queen of Sheba's palace is there. We go out just outside of...
The Queen of Sheba's pool.
And the Queen of Sheba's pool, where the whole community jumps in and gets baptized. in this wild festival. And then of course we can go out and see where the whole Lion of Judah has been inscribed on a rock face. There are so many.
We run out of things to do. We start sun up to sundown, and people that night say, we want to keep going.
Because we sit up at night with a huge bonfire overlooking the city, and we can look down, and they're down there chanting with these candles, and they're just praising the Lord. They're singing the songs
these camel
of David.
Caravans are coming and going at night, and the women carrying these bundles on their head going to market, and we go into the market.
Oh, yeah.
And isn't that a trip?
It's like something out of Star Wars,
Oh,
right?
It's just like you go there, and these women are just thousands of spices and these
smells,
the smell. It's just an amazing. And what we do is we go for the orphanage. We buy goats and we drag them on the bus. And people are saying, "What's Bob doing?" And I've been doing. How many times have I been doing this? And that's a highlight for people. We go buy a goat. We take it to the orphanage, and the women all go, "Oh, you're not going to kill this little goat." And then they see these little kids, these little starving little kids, and their little distended stomachs. They go, "Okay, kill the goat."
But the ladies are going out with teams, and they're buying tomatoes and peppers, and oh my gosh,
and then the ladies have a blast.
Fun.
We take them in the market. The women come back with all this food stuff for these kids, and then they cook it up, and they cook the goat, and it's just people have an adventure like they've never seen before. And we want to invite people to come on that. And again, Rhonda, because I don't want people to channel surf and go past us here if they want a chance to go this.
Yeah.
How do they get to go on this trip?
It's June 20 to 27, and it includes everything really. And don't forget, these are great lodges where we stay. I mean, people think of Ethiopia, but oh my goodness.
One of them is a spa where you get a pedicure
right
or a
on
massage
the lake.
on the lake.
Oh my gosh,
and
it's a very authentic African
and
bungalows. It's
French chef, at that one place.
And so many people think of being a lot of hungry people, but really, Ethiopia has 2 or 3 harvest seasons, right? I mean, you're driving down the streets, you're seeing huge baskets of huge mangoes and papaya. I mean, I think we think back to the times of the famine, which were in the early 80s. It's not like that anymore.
This is not South Ethiopia. This is the north and the highlands with the beautiful mountains and the rivers. And
agriculture.
Agriculture is beautiful. It's some of the prettiest country you've ever seen, right?
It is. It's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
It reminds you of New Mexico, I think you commented.
Yeah, very much
pretty.
so. Yeah, very much New Mexico, down by the Rio Grande River there. Absolutely.
Well, Rhonda, we're going to have to go to take a little break right here, and then we're going to come back and have some more comments about adventure travel with Rhonda Sand, Living Passages. You can go with Bob Cornuke, who this crazy adventure guy is. And Rhonda, you got to admit,
Mr. Bob.
I'm a pretty good tour guide when I go
Yeah,
over.
you are.
Everybody comes away with adventure. We're going to be going to a short break, coming right back, and telling you how you get involved with the adventure of a lifetime. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm here in Aksum, Ethiopia with Base Institute, and we are here helping to provide flip-flops to the kids that have to walk on this rocky ground for several miles every day. And we have a goal to provide 200,000 flip-flops to these children, and we would like your help in reaching that goal. So please practice some gutsy Christianity and join us.
Welcome back to Gutsy Christianity with Rhonda Sand and Harold Velasquez. And Rhonda, during the break, we're sort of telling these great stories. And they are memories for life. You can take everything from all my possessions, but the memories that I have that are in my heart and my mind are the things that I'm going to be, they're banked in my soul almost. And they're some of the greatest gifts that I have are these memories of our trips. One of them, wasn't an emotional thing, but we were talking at the break, is that, and for the audience, in Lalibela, you go out and they bury all these people. They throw them in a pit and they put them in these muslin wrappings, and so this is a kind of a holy place to be buried. And so the curator there thought it was really cool that I was there with a camera. He goes, "Well, do you want to go film this?" So this big cave, and like 5,000 people that have been buried there over the last 1,000 years, and these skeletons are all stacked up, and it's a pretty macabre thing. But I walked out in the middle of these skeletons, and there's about 20 feet deep in this pit, and I'm standing on all these bones and everything else. And okay, pretty sacrilegious thing to do, I assume, to everybody to think, but they didn't think anything of it. They said go out and film. So we've got these people with flashlights and candles, and I'm filming all these skeletons. All of a sudden, they started breaking. and I started sinking down in this pit, and I'm going up to my waist and all these. So that was kind of a freaky thing to do. But when we go over there, we're allowed to go into the stone city of Lalibela, where they where. That's probably the most miraculous thing I've seen.
is.
From what is it, the year 1200 that they made these things?
Right.
And tell
They
us
say
about
angels.
Well,
They say
that's what they
angels
think.
actually came in the middle of the night and helped them carve out these stone churches.
That's their tradition, and they actually believe it. But the truth of the matter is that these churches are probably one of the wonders of the world, and,
Well,
and
they
our
are.
people go through them. Their jaws are on the ground. We're going to be doing that, aren't we, on this
Yes,
trip? We're going to be seeing Lalibela.
Right.
We're going to an island, going through hippos. And
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we go out the Tanakirkos. It's surrounded by hippos. When we get
Beautiful
on the
island.
boat, there's monkeys everywhere. There's the exotic
And we go in this, and the weather is wonderful. We go on these boat rides out there, and then we go to the island and meet with the monks where they claim they had the Ark for 800
Right.
years, and you get to see some of the artifacts, the meat forks that you saw, and the old Bibles, and everybody gets to go out there and do that.
Right.
We go to the Blue Nile Falls. Wonderful trip. Tell us again how we can go on this trip, because I want to give a personal invitation to my audience to go on the trip of a lifetime. We'll give them an Indiana Jones experience that they'll never have again. Tell us how they can go on this trip and how they can contact you.
Well, that's
to
the thing
go.
that I think is so important is the fact that a trip to Ethiopia is a trip to Ethiopia, but Bob, a trip to Ethiopia with you is very unique, and that's why this is such a special opportunity to go
Absolutely.
June 20 to 27, because you do open up doors because of your books, and you open up doors because of the many times that you're there. I mean, because not many people do get to go out to Tanakirkos, and if they do go out there, that's a closed island. Okay, that's not open, as you know,
Right.
for people just to show up. And when you show up, you know it's a special time for these monks, and it's a special time for the people that visit there to get to meet these monks and see these tools that come out. And so it is June 20 to 27. It's right on the end of your research trip to Jerusalem, by the way, and they can look at the registration page, which is on our website, which is livingpassages.com.
And Frank Turk and I are going to be doing a front-end trip to Israel, and I'll be teaching for 2 days at the Temple with my new book, Temple. I want you to know I have a new book out called Temple. Don't want to, so that'll be coming out right about then.
Which
and
is so appropriate to be going to Ethiopia,
right.
right? I mean, really.
So we're going to go there, and then we can jump over. There's a lot of
Great
options that you can give to people
That's
for
right.
adventure travel. And
Great
so, Rhonda, we've kind of run out a little time here, so I really felt led. My wife said, you know, Bob, give the audience a chance to have an Indiana Jones adventure with you. And I've never advertised this, I've never done that, so I want to thank you for the opportunity of putting this trip together. You do a first-class job. They can call and get all their questions answered about visas and travel and everything else and know what to do. Harold, again, thank you for being
Thank
with
you.
us and
Thank you.
contributing, because you've been to Africa. Folks, I appreciate you being with us, and I hope to see you over there in Africa. I'll have my vest on. We'll be going over and seeing all this really cool stuff. And I guarantee you, if you want to be an Indiana Jones person for a week and live out that movie, just like the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, minus a little pyrotechnics and maybe getting shot at, we're going to have just a great, safe time.
Thank God.
You come with us to Ethiopia this year. My name's Bob Cornuke. You've been with Gutsy Christianity. Until we see you again next week, I hope you do have a gutsy kind of Christianity.